Chapter 122, The Fabric of the World. Exodus chapter 36, verses 8 to 38. And every wise-hearted man among them that wrought the work of the tabernacle made 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue, and purple, and scarlet. With cherubims of cunning work made he them. The length of one curtain was 28 cubits, and the breadth of one curtain 4 cubits. The curtains were all of one size. And he coupled the 5 curtains one unto another, and the other 5 curtains he coupled one unto another. And he made loops of blue on the edge of one curtain from the selvage in the coupling. Likewise he made in the uttermost side of another curtain, in the coupling of the second. 50 loops made he in one curtain, and 50 loops made he in the edge of the curtain, which was in the coupling of the second. The loops held one curtain to another. And he made 50 taches of gold, and coupled the curtains one unto another with the taches, so it became one tabernacle. And he made curtains of goat's hair for the tent over the tabernacle. 11 curtains he made them. The length of one curtain was 30 cubits, and 4 cubits was the breadth of one curtain. The 11 curtains were of one size. And he coupled 5 curtains by themselves, and 6 curtains by themselves. And he made 50 loops upon the uttermost edge of the curtain in the coupling, and 50 loops made he upon the edge of the curtain which coupleth the second. And he made 50 taches of brass to couple the tent together, that it might be one. And he made a covering for the tent of rams' skins dyed red, and a covering of badgers' skins above that. And he made boards for the tabernacle of shittim wood, standing up. The length of a board was 10 cubits, and the breadth of a board 1 cubit and a half. One board had 2 tenons, equally distant one from another. Thus did he make for all the boards of the tabernacle. And he made boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards for the south side southward. And 40 sockets of silver he made under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under one board for his 2 tenons, and 2 sockets under another board for his 2 tenons. And for the other side of the tabernacle, which is toward the north corner, he made 20 boards. And there 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under one board, and 2 sockets under another board. And for the sides of the tabernacle westward, he made 6 boards, and 2 boards made he for the corners of the tabernacle in the 2 sides. And they were coupled beneath, and coupled together at the head thereof, to one ring. Thus he did to both of them in both the corners. And there were 8 boards, and their sockets were 16 sockets of silver, under every board 2 sockets. And he made boards of shittim wood, 5 for the boards of the one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the tabernacle for the sides westward. And he made the middle bar to shoot through the boards from the one end to the other. And he overlaid the boards with gold, and made their rings of gold to be places for the bars, and overlaid the boards with gold. And he made a veil of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen. With cherubims made he it of cunning work. And he made thereunto 4 pillars of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold. Their hooks were of gold, and he cast for them 4 sockets of silver. And he made an hanging for the tabernacle door of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen of needlework. And the 5 pillars of it with their hooks, and he overlaid their chapters and their fillets with gold, but their 5 sockets were of brass. Exodus chapter 36, verses 8 to 38. As we saw earlier, Sirach said of scribes, artisans, and others, they kept stable the fabric of the world, and their prayer is in the practice of their trade. This is the biblical attitude. For ancient Greek thought ultimately rested in ideas, in abstractions. As a result, its philosophy turned everything into an abstraction. Its practical scientists were often foreign slaves who were usually given Greek names and freedom for their work. But the focus in Greek thought was on quote-unquote pure reason, on ideas or abstractions. In biblical thought, all things are concretized because the triune God is not an abstraction, but the supreme and total person. God's goal in creation and history is not an abstraction, but the incarnation of God the Son. All history must concretize and particularize God's law, His justice, and bring all things under the reign of Christ as King. The practical application of these two contrasting views is apparent in the fact that Greek culture gave status to ideas, whereas biblical culture gave status and dignity to work. Sirach's statement has as its counterpart the Hebraic insistence that if a father did not teach his son the law of God and a trade with his hands, he taught him to be a thief. St. Paul represents this kind of perspective to keep his independence. He worked on the side as a leather worker, making tents and saddles. Many cultures have discovered various promising things, but it has remained for Christendom to make them into practical and commercial assets and inventions for all men. Basic to this is the stress on the particular, which this chapter, among others, represents. The influence of Greek philosophy runs deep in our educational system, and our concern for the particular and the specific is thereby diminished. Over the centuries, however, many Christians have actually relished such texts. God's great attention to the particulars has given confidence to workers in the specific and concrete aspects of our world. Whether mechanics or scientists, they have seen the particular as very important. In verses 8 to 38, we have a virtual repetition of Exodus chapter 26, verses 1 to 37, with a few verses omitted, verses 12 and 13, and 30, and verses 33 to 35. Exodus chapter 37, verses 1 following, gives data similar to Exodus chapter 25, verses 10 to 39, and chapter 30, verses 1 to 5. From Exodus chapter 25, a few verses are omitted in Exodus chapter 37, namely verses 16 following, 21 following, and verse 30. All this stress and repetition serves to remind us of God's requirement of good workmanship and precision. This goes counter to the modern temper, which stresses instead a good heart, a fuzzy conception, over good workmanship. Not only Christian causes, but also various worthy activities are usually overwhelmed with bumblers who believe their inept work is sanctified by their willingness. God here makes it very clear that skills are necessary for godly service. In this text, there are several references to he in verses 14, 20, 31, 35. This person is Bezalel, the superintendent in charge of all construction. In a sense, all the work is his because he is in charge, and his approval is necessary for acceptance. Thus, not only are skills required, but also even skilled workmanship must pass a test. The construction of the tabernacle was important for what it represented. According to Moorhead, it set forth 4 things. First, it meant that God was present with his chosen people. The church now serves the same purpose. The presence of faithful churches in a community is a witness to God's grace, law, mercy, and judgment. The church gives notice to men that there is a transcendent, a supernatural frame of reference. Second, the sanctuary showed that God identified himself with his chosen people. In Isaiah chapter 63, verses 7 to 9, we read, I will mention the loving kindness of the Lord, and the praises of the Lord, according to all that the Lord hath bestowed on us, and the great goodness toward the house of Israel, which he hath bestowed on them, according to the multitude of his loving kindnesses. For he said, Surely they are my people, children that will not lie. So he was their Saviour. In all their affliction he was afflicted, and the angel of his presence saved them. In his love and in his pity he redeemed them, and he bare them, and carried them all the days of old. God's patience is such, says Isaiah, that he carries us as a father does his child. Third, the sanctuary witnessed to salvation, to God's method of bringing sinners to himself. It confronts us with the need for atonement and the only valid means for it. Fourth, the sanctuary pointed to the incarnation, God's tabernacling presence with us. Our Lord calls himself the temple, John chapter 2, verse 19. This is why in Israel there could be only one sanctuary, because there is one incarnation. In later years there were many synagogues. The church is the Christian synagogue, James chapter 2, verse 2, and thus there can be a multiplicity of churches representing the one true temple of God, Jesus Christ. In the construction, the work mainly proceeded from the centre to the circumference. The sanctuary itself is built, and then the tents which covered it. The taches of verse 13, etc., are golden clasps. Tenons, verse 22, refers to pegs. The quote-unquote sockets are pedestals. Verse 24. Shittim wood is acacia. Fillets, verse 36, are connecting rods, although some render it sockets. We have here not only a careful account of the construction, but also an ordered sequence. Here the work is recorded. In Exodus chapter 40, verses 18 to 33, the setting up of the sanctuary is described. While some workmen prepared the sanctuary, others were engaged at the same time in the construction of all the furnishings and utensils which were to go therein. The tabernacle was a movable temple. This is a very important fact to remember, for otherwise we will not understand the very great attention given to its design and construction. Both here in Solomon's time and again after the captivity with Zerubbabel. In a study of temples in the ancient world, Richard J. Clifford wrote, The temple in the ancient Near East is not merely a building which archaeology can excavate. Inescapably woven into the fabric of public and private life of antiquity, it performed functions in society which modern students would analyze as economic, cultural, religious, and political. It was at once a municipal or national vault, a seat of learning and repository of sacred traditions, a place of worship and theophany, a platform where the king and his role in the divine governance of the world might be displayed and given legitimacy. There can be a separation of church and state, but not of religion and life. As Clifford further commented, the temple was an instrument in divine human governance. This is why the sanctuary is so important in Exodus and elsewhere. God is the source of all authority and government, and the supreme and only lawgiver. It is a rejection of the whole of biblical revelation to receive law from any other source. The lawgiver is the sovereign. He is the God of that society. Clifford cited ergonetic texts which state that Baal lacked political power before his victory over Yam and Mot and did not have a temple or palace. With victory, he was able to rule, and a temple was built. John, in Revelation, repeatedly refers to God's temple. Revelation chapter 3, verse 12, chapter 7, verse 15, chapter 11, verses 1 and 2, and verse 19, chapter 14, verse 15 and 17, chapter 15, verses 5 and 6, verse 8, chapter 16, verse 1 and verse 17, chapter 21, verse 22. When he wrote, Jerusalem was still standing, but it was soon to be destroyed. He therefore tells us that the true temple is now in heaven. Chapter 11, verse 19. The true temple, not made with hands, is the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb. Chapter 21, verse 22. The cosmic rule by the triune God is revealed, and we are a people with access to the very throne of creation and of all eternity. The concept of a temple is the concept of a centre out of which the order of life and being emerges. The Kremlin was the temple, the centre of life for the Soviet regime, and Washington, D.C. is the centre of life for the United States. A temple means the core or nucleus of a social order. Every society has its temple, a core group, a power centre, or something similar. In each instance, this religious centre, whatever it calls itself, governs all of life. Only biblical faith prevents a humanistic concentration of all power into a temple of man, a new Tower of Babel. As the biblical doctrine wanes, the humanistic tyrannies and totalitarian regimes arise. This is why these chapters on the sanctuary are so important. Churches now see their place as on the edges, the peripheries of society, because they do not see God as the lawgiver and sovereign. Their thinking has become polytheistic, and the sovereign state for them is too often the main God. In Hebrews chapter 9, verses 11 and 12, we are told that Christ is now the great high priest in the eternal sanctuary. But when Christ arrived as the high priest of the bliss that was to be, he passed through the greater and more perfect tent which no hands had made, no part, that is to say, of the present order, not taking the blood of goats and oxen, but his own blood, and so entered once for all into the holy place, securing a redemption that is eternal. James Moffat translation. This text is meaningless to us unless we understand what being the temple himself and reigning in the temple mean. Namely, that he is the blessed and only potentate, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 15. He is the only temple and the only potentate. The fabric of the world is maintained by those who are the artisans and workers for God's true sanctuary.